And folks, what a first half for your Buffalo Bulls, my Buffalo Bulls, our Buffalo Bulls, Kevin, as they lead Northern Illinois 51-28, a resounding message on the road.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what you're looking for. NIU's been a big sore spot for this team throughout the years. They've really struggled against the Maniac. I believe they're the only team with a complete losing record over the last 4 years. And NIU's really had their number. Eugene German's been just a fantastic basketball player. So that's been a big concern. Now the team isn't anywhere near what they were. Losing German, obviously, and it's just a train wreck over there in Northern Illinois land. They're not a very good basketball program any longer. They don't have the one player to rely on any further. You'd be shooting at a tremendous clip, 54%, 81% from free throws. Still struggling behind the line. Segu's still struggling. He was the key to the game last game, against Toledo, and just he wasn't very good. And I think that was a huge portion of the game. I'd like to see him pick it up. He is 3 for 8, made a couple baskets later in the game, but didn't look very good early on. But other than that, the team and Ball and Hardnett are absolutely dominating. So those forwards are going to work. Jonathan Williams obviously doing his thing. Skoogman, as the announcers have called him throughout the day, Skoogman. He's played pretty well here today, so I'd like to see him get more minutes, and the return of Brock Bertram.
Seriously, the return of Brock Bertram. So what do you like to see more out of this UB team? Or what do you like what do you like to see more overall, I should say? Do you like to see them as a team holding NIU below 30 points in the first half? Or do you like to see Hartnett 4 for 4? I mean, it seems like he's kind of getting in a groove lately. Am I off?
Yeah, I need to see the offense. Like I appreciate the under 30 on the team defense. We saw that against Toledo. They played pretty well, and then it disappeared in the last 7-8 minutes, and they just did not play defense any longer. Defense does travel, shooting doesn't, but unfortunately the way that UB team has played from Hurley to Oates to Weitzel is they need to score points. And I like to see the forwards dominating against a lesser opponent and really getting that tune up before the real hard opponents come into play in the last week of the year when they're getting 3 games. They're getting Akron, they're getting Ohio. Ohio just beat Akron today. And then obviously you're going to get Kent again. So you have some 3 of the top 4 teams. And UB's right now in 5th. So
a lot of ESPN Plus matches, ESPN 3, ESPN Plus down the next week. But yeah, it's like you said, 4 games basically in the next 10 days or so, or 8 days. Yeah. So this is a grind. I mean, this is no joke about it. But yeah, it's good to see them getting off to a strong start here, leading at half 51-28. They're not cutting it close, Kevin. Let's face it. When you're taking care of yourself, you don't want to cut it too close either. Make sure you're checking out our sponsor, Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code Trainarch. Again, manscaped.com, 20% off. And I guess we talk about themes, we're talking about continuing storylines. It's kind of like you and Mike B have said all season. It's when they're playing a bottom half of the conference opponent, easy pickings. When they get to the top half, that's when they tend to struggle.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point, and it's one I'll make, pretty much every time we talk about it. They're on their way, I should say, to going 8-0 against the 7 through 12 seed in the conference. That's what you'd like to see. I mean, that's the first step.
That's what you call taking care of business. It's something you have to check off, but if you're not doing the other thing, it's kind of like, you're not eating your vegetables, right?
That's right. So you're doing that, which is, something we see out of the McDermott teams and the Bills, where they take care of the lesser opponents. So that's what you're looking forward to. You're liking to see going 8 wins against the Miami, Ohio's, Ball States, Western Michigan, Central Michigan, Eastern, and Northern. Those would be the 6 bottom feeders per se, 7 through 12, and the UB gets another one here, 225 against CMU. So hopefully they'll finish the season 9-0 against the lesser opponents. It's the 0-5 against the 1 through 5 seeds that is just absolutely killing them. You have no confidence that they can string 3 together in Cleveland. Coming in that first game, they're going to get the 4 versus 5 game, most likely against Ohio. And can they either take care of 1 game against a team in the top 5 seeds, let alone 3 in a row? It's going to be tough. They need to at least.
I'm confident out of all the top teams them play again. And they've had close games against everyone. They dominated for Toledo for for each half, they dominated Toledo for the first 15 minutes, which is pretty crazy to lose that game by 10, given that. But out of all the teams that they've had those close losses to, the Kent States, the Bowling Greens, I feel comfortable about Ohio. They let that game get away for sure. Even more so maybe than the Toledo game, honestly.
Yeah, they did. And I think the team that they've actually played pretty poor against the most was Bowling Green, who's not very good. That was the team that's sitting in the 6th seed right now that would qualify in the top 6 for my metric. Just top 6, bottom 6, pretty simple. And they struggled against them. That's a team that I wouldn't want to see again. They most likely wouldn't have to until the finals. So I'll take that in the finals if that's the way it went. But I think Kent is the team they played really well against and just absolutely played terrible in the last 3 minutes. That was the game where they hurried it up 6, 2 possessions in a row. I mean, that's a win 95% of the time. They caught the 1 out of 20 again. At some point, they're just not good at closing out basketball games. So we need to see, and everyone's like, oh, Toledo was a tune-up. It didn't matter. At most, we're going to get into the 3 seed. It doesn't really matter. Then you play Bowling Green over Ohio anyways. It doesn't really matter. And I agree with that a little bit, other than you need to prove that you can go into the tournament, not 0-8 against the top 6 seeds. It's just not something you can do. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get to play, unlike years past, you're not going to get to play some of those bad teams. And when they did last year, they lost at home to Miami. So, let's take care of business against the bad teams. Checkbox number 1. It's the things below that they're not ticking off right now. Winning at home, not getting ticked off. Beating better teams, not getting ticked off. But they're still sitting in the top 90 in Ken Pom. So if they do happen to do something where they win 3 in a row, I mean, they're looking at a 12 seed right in the face.
And we talk about the depth of the scoring. I mean, I forget kudos to our guy Ty B. I'm unfortunately forgetting the stat, but maybe only one of a handful of teams nationally, or the only team nationally with 4 guys over 14 points per game. Was that what I saw? Because this team has depth. Oh yeah, it's like we said. I mean, they have the one thing they have is that someone can go away and they can still survive and win a game. So just looking at that, they've played 16 games so far this year. They've had 5 different high scorers across those 16 games. So that speaks to itself. I mean, I think you'd be hard pressed to find anybody with those kind of numbers.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's when you can't lose 2, right? That's when you start to see that when 2 people aren't scoring against those top teams. Like last week we saw, or excuse me, Friday we saw, it was Graves and Sagu really not perform well at all. And it just you need 3 of them. That's what I always say. You need 3 of them. You can miss one. And you just don't have enough depth behind them to help out. Hardnut is nice when he's playing good. He's been a nice surprise in a lot of ways, but you're not getting anything out of Nickelberry. You're not getting anything out of anyone else that's coming in off the bench. Brock gives you his few minutes when he's healthy. You have Bruton with a wrist. Something's going on there with his wrist injury. Don't know if he's coming back. Haven't heard anything on that. I mean, the depth's non-existing. They have some forward depth with Brock and Fagan, who hasn't came in the game yet. So I'm wondering if he's hurt because he played really well lately. And then obviously you have Skogman, who's been pretty decent. But there's no guard depth. There's no guards in the pipeline. Guard's a big issue. I mean, and when Sagu's off, what can you do? You can't win basketball games when you're shooting 4 for 20. You just can't.
Plain and simple. Can't win with them. Can't do it, as Mike Singletary would say. Folks, thanks for keeping it tuned to us. Kings for keeping it tuned to Bullet Points. Make sure you're giving Kevin a follow. Kevin Masser, 2 S's, 2 A's. Make sure you're giving him the follow there on Twitter. And keep it locked to all things UB Bulls here at Bullet Point 716, as well as TrainWreckSports.com. Kevin, I'm going to lock you in right here. It looks like the Bulls have things kind of handled here. They're up 23 at half.
Yep.
Final 4 games going down the stretch here. We got Central Michigan, Ohio, Akron, Kent, both at home. Give me a prediction for the record for those final 4 games.
I think the Toledo game really skewed me a little bit to where I was thinking, maybe they'll pick it up toward the end of February, early March to win some of these games. I'm struggling. They haven't done it. I'm struggling to say that they can beat teams with winning records. It just hasn't happened, but I do have them going 2-2, 3-2, counting this game here today down the stretch. To put them in position to they're in position to win in the 4-5 game. Then against Toledo, they show that they could do that. And then against either Kent or Akron in the finals. I mean, it's there for them, but I do only have them going into the tournament with 1 win against a team in the top 6. And I do have them winning at Ohio next. So I do have them winning 3 in a row here. But I just think that Akron's going to come in with too much to handle. They can't stop good senior guards. It is a tried and true this year. There's no other, Jackson is going to, Christian Jackson is going to absolutely take over. You've seen it. So that game's going to be tough for me to pick them. They've struggled against those senior, good, strong guards like we saw against Marion Jackson in Toledo. So Kent's the game that's the toss-up. Could they go 4-1, including today, down the stretch? That's what they need to do, Maniac, to go in with some confidence after losing that Toledo game. 3-2, and I'm still wondering if, yes, they might favor against Ohio because they have them winning there soon. Can they win 3 in a row? I just don't see it if they have to play Toledo in the semifinals.
Okay, all fair takes. Love to hear it. Definitely would be good. I think they've shown they can perform. Good to get their confidence up with a couple of wins here down the stretch heading into the tournament over some of the top-tier teams in the MAC. Folks, again, keep it locked here all day, 24/7, 365, Bullet Points. We are keeping all your UB exclusive action here as well as at trainwrecksports.com. Huge shout-out to my co-host, Kevin. Let's go get it in the second half. Let's go Bulls.